Hi there, students.
Today I'm calculating a reduction factor on these data that they have told me, that I have written down here, which is 15%. Okay, 15% of 1,999 is 253. To do this I have used the expression of the contents of cell C5 times the contents of cell B22. So if I want to express this reduction to all these amounts I have in tables, logically I am going to want to do it together. So I can think about copying this expression with Ctrl+C and paste it in this whole range. We see that in this case it has come out wrong. It has not worked as intuitively as it seemed at first sight. This is because the references that Excel makes in a phrase to the contents of other cells is, by default, are relative. That is, that we're referencing cell C5. We are making a reference to cell B5 and to cell B22 in a relative way. That is, we are saying in reality that we are referring to the cell on the left and to the cell that is 17 positions down in the column to the left. That is, when we have copied this formula to the next one, it has essentially considered this reference relatively. Notice that it has multiplied the contents of the cell immediately to the left. That is correct. What we intended, but it has multiplied by the contents of the cell which is directly under the 15%. This is an error. We wanted to calculate all these cells, multiply them by the same quantity that is indicated here, the 15%. That is, that we want the reference to cell B22 to be an absolute reference. The absolute reference is not going to vary as I move around the spreadsheet. This is very easy to do, and we can do it as follows. By clicking F4, we see that the reference to cell B22, we hit F4, we see that it becomes $B$22. This means that we have converted the reference to cell B22, that is still highlighted in green, and continues to reference the contents of this cell, but it is now an absolute reference. That is, that when I copy this formula or transfer it to a different position from the cell, it will always point to the contents of cell B22, which is precisely what we want. We validate this new expression with a relative reference and an absolute reference, and if we copy this new formula to the rest of the cells, we see that we now correctly have the data we needed. In order to verify that we can pay attention to the comparison between the contents of the cell B19 and B22, well, students, that was all you needed to know to start using absolute references.